Okay, so this will be an F-Hime spacing and anti-air tutorial. So first, say like what are the spacings that you want to play at? It's probably like somewhere here, like right here-ish. The threat of this move is constant. This move exists and it's hard to beat. But that's not to say that you can't play at closer ranges. Like, you're pretty effective here as well. Not many things are going to be able to beat this. For example, you still have access to this attack. This is the very extreme basics, right? Like, you could even be here, it doesn't really matter. So let's look at like a one type of attack, right? So there's this. People are gonna fly at you because you're playing Hime. So you're going to be doing shit like this. Now, one of the pitfalls of this is people doing this. I feel like this is bad. I don't like shield. I'd rather do that. And I will tell you why in a minute. Other thing, you could just walk away if you're here. But now if you're here, you can't walk away because of the corner. So what do you do in that situation when you're in a space like that? You could swing 5B. I know a lot of Hime players might say, oh, I don't like 5B. So now let's re-record this. Let's go to like dummy 2. In order to clear 5B with a double jump, it takes a lot of effort. You still have your Dragon Punch available to you. So now, even if they try to do all of this shit, it's very hard to avoid. So the 5B is actually super strong, because it has extremely low recovery on whiff. I did that way too late. You see, like, it's even, like, almost impossible to fucking whiff. I have to do this jump really early in order to bait it, actually. Something like that. And that's another thing with Hime neutral. I feel like you should be buffering Dragon Punch constantly. So let's look at like a situation like here in the corner. Like, a lot of times you just bait people out by just like doing shit like this. They're gonna want to air dash at you. Or similarly, like say you do 2C and you do a second 2C and it's slightly out of range, or they like jump over before the 2Cs. You have to constantly be buffering that. Like, don't go for this. Because shield, I feel, sucks because they could just dodge it with movement. They could, you know, whiff, bait your shield, and then you eat 1,000,000 damage. But in order to bait Hime's DP, it's like, how? Like, how is Nania gonna really bait it? that up a little better. It's almost impossible. So like if I press this button, it's like almost impossible for him to dodge that. And being that it's like a multi-hit, it's not really something where he's gonna be able to shield it very effectively. And if they're doing shit like this against Hime, where a lot of your anti-air, let's look at that again. A lot of times with Hime, you just walk away. It's like, okay, sure, dude. So I would say also, oh yeah, let's just bring that all back anyway. Let's look at it all again. So now, like, we could look at other spacings too, but first I want to look at this one more time. So 5B is good. Walk away is good. This is not good. Like, if you think they're gonna move with like a jump and you're not like really on point, like, and you end up whiffing a geyser, you're gonna get fucked. But that's a judgment call. It's part of Hime shit, I guess. You could always whiff cancel. That's another thing I feel like Hime players don't whiff cancel enough. Or not even just whiff cancel, but just doing it on block as well. Because, you know. And that's like kind of an aside, really. Like, I mean, why not be safe? Like, there's so many characters that can't really do anything about this kind of a movement. Not that many characters are going to be able to punish you for air dashing back after a geyser. And now, while you're going to be hurting your reward, like, you're not going to get your Oki or whatever. Like, you're probably a lot of times only going to get this. There are times where you could geyser and do, you know, one of these or whatever. Some shit like that, which is not, like, very great reward, but at least it's even less interactive, more risk averse, rather than just committing to the geyser jump cancel, because if they block it, a lot of times they'll close in and take their turn. Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of aversion to 5B, which I think is crazy, but you have to understand the context of it. Like, I don't think I would do it, like, here. I wouldn't really do it as or I wouldn't do it also, I wouldn't do it really as a reaction to air dash. I feel like air dash is too fast, so the startup of 5B is going to hurt you. I like it more against super jump approaches. Generally only super jump approaches I would be trying it. But then there's also other ranges that we're playing at, so Hime's run is actually super crazy. And that's like another thing, like even if on those super jumps, so like here you would, from this spacing I would walk under. Or, excuse me, walk back. But here, from this spacing, I think running under is pretty good. Like this like 2B whiff range. And then just wait. Like, don't necessarily like run under and commit too quickly. Because it's still... I gotta record that differently. It's weird. Yeah, like you don't want to do this. Like I see a lot of Hime players do this and then just eat shit. Because they think they're gonna land, but you gotta wait. Just wait it out. So like, run under, keep moving. Like, wait for all the air options to be completed. Like, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to deal with this. Like, if you're in a position where they're in a double jump spot and they're near you, and now you have to gamble, like, are they going to air dash? Are they just going to fall on me? That's an awkward spot. Like, you don't want to be in a spot like that. So you don't want to, like, be, like, lingering underneath your opponent. You always want to be maintaining this kind of a spacing. So let's look at it again. Run under. I'm still running all the fucking way because I don't like the spacing, right? So, like, even though if I commit, see, that was awkward spacing, but I'm still waiting. I'm gonna wait for the final. Like, let's say I don't do it. Let's just say I swing 5B instead. We can still easily react to that. Now let's look at another spacing. Let's say, like, I'm walking away. You just keep walking away. But there's a spacing thing. Like, the further I am, the more I want to just walk away. If it starts closer, I want to dash under. I'd probably just DP, honestly, in those situations, because you never know what could happen. Like, they might do, like, air dodge and weird shit. There's not much they could do about a DP after they expend all their air options. So, you know, spacing. Spacing is the most important thing with this character. So a lot of times I see players will just run at their opponent, and it ends up creating these awkward scrambles, and then you get hit and you're like, damn, I suck. And this also is similar for air techs, and that's one of the major downfalls I see with Hime players on air techs. Is, say you get like a stray hit, you don't get a combo, the air tech, say like the Nania player, air techs kind of from here. As the Hime player, let's just make him stand. As the Hime player, if my opponent, let me get my mouse cursor, if my opponent's gonna tech, is in a tech situation right here, I still want to move over here. I see a lot of Hime players, what they do is they run here, which ends up putting themselves in a scramble. So you're like, ah, but I have my Hime attacks, right? I can, like, DP. Or they stay here, and as soon as they see the tech, they'll do like this. Or they'll run up, do something like that. Or they'll run up and even just DP. But those are all, like, high risk on a character that shouldn't be playing high risk. So think about this. I'll look at my mouse cursor again. So now if my opponent forward techs, they will be here. So in essence, let's make pretend they're forward teching. They'll be here, and maybe they'll still have air options. Maybe they'll have all this shit. So that's why I want the space over there. And if they neutral tech, and understand that when they forward tech, I'll be able to react with the walk back. All those anti-air options I was showing before, I'll be able to react and beat the forward tech and the options with it because I'm spacing around it, as I was showing earlier. The same concept. But if they neutral tech and then they try to move, it's the same idea. If they back tech and they decide to move, they probably can't get too far. So in the end, you can watch, wait for them to see how they're using their air options. If they use all of their air options to come at you, kill them. If they don't and decide to land, excuse me, I'm fucking dying. If they wait and choose to land, you can, you know, that's when you can just close in, like safely close in, safely make sure they don't move, or you can get a little brazen as, you know, maybe you can run in. Like, Hime commands a lot of respect, so when people land, you might be able to move in a little further, you know, etc. But generally, like, the layer 1 is as soon as they land, you want to make sure they don't move. So, like 2C. But you always got to be ready, right? So don't commit until they land, because if you commit too early, you will get air dashed on. So it's like, let's show that. A lot of Hime players will do this and then die. So instead, you would want to wait it out. Like, I would see them doing this and I would wait it out. Or whatever. Just wait it out, pin the landing. So get more respect, you can run up and grab. Do whatever. But you notice, like, as I see the jumps, I'm not engaging with that jump. There's no way I'm going to engage with that. I'm going to move in space to my optimal spacing. Maybe now I'll do the geyser. It's like, okay, double jump, air dash, now I could geyser. Because there's no way they could change their trajectory another time, right? Like, there's just no more air options. So where you don't want to be, you don't want to be here. You don't want to be here. You don't want to be here, and I want to stress that, because at this point, Nania can fall with a jump C. Nania can fall, air dash back. Nania can fall, air dash forward, and air dash forward, air dash back at any point in this jump. And can also use air dodge at any point in this jump. So committing to an option from here sucks. This is where you don't want to be. Like, because you're making it very guessy. You want to limit the amount of things you have to think about. So lowering your mental stack. So spacing properly lowers your mental stack. So you only have to worry about one thing. And then, so you just react to the one thing. And it's easier to react when you're anticipating, as opposed to being here where you got to react to like 6 different things. Like, it's just not humanly possible. So, like, you don't know what's going to happen. So in a situation, like, if you do end up stuck in a situation like this, it's probably better just block. Or hope that you can react to something. But it's not... You're more likely to be baited and die. So it's risky. So this is why, like, if I'm here and I see this, I'm just walking away. And that goes for all kinds of air approaches. Like, so if I see the super jump, like we mentioned before, I'll probably swing a 5B. If I react to it. If I don't react to it, I'll just walk. Like, oh shit, I didn't react to it. Or sometimes you could react, like, say this spacing, you react with the dash. React with the dash, don't overcommit. Keep that air dash spacing, like Nania's air dash spacing. So you can make sure you can anti-air that. This is an awkward spacing here. Alright, so here, move, and now you can attack. Now you want to move forward. Now you want to move forward. Like, when you see them air dash back to retreat, that's when you move forward. Like, if you're moving forward before that, like, say, like, I see the super jump, and then they jump, now I'm going to just walk forward, and now it's awkward. And now you're overcommitting. You don't want to do that. So, it's actually, like, pretty simple, and this, like, encompasses her, like, almost an entire neutral game anyway, right? So, let's look at, like, other, like, ground approach. Nani is going to do this shit a lot. Now, if you're here, you're kind of fucked, right? But, like, let's assume you're not. Generally going to be wanting to walk back, and it's the same kind of ranges that will beat the jumps as well. Like, you want to be, like, here. Similarly, you can sometimes just... You can kind of just swing 2B sometimes. Like, it's kind of committal. but it's so massive. I think it's underrated. Like, most Hime players will just swing this because it's really good. But 2B is a little faster, and it's super disjointed as well. And I like it because it has really good recovery on whiff. So let's look at this again. Like, say like Nani is here. And he wants to do like some shit like that. And this will work with 2C as well. Let's not act like it won't. But that's why that move is good. So if they commit to the attack, they're gonna get hit. If they air dash, you're still gonna win. Unless they do this miraculous timing where they can beat the whiff recovery. But usually that's just not gonna happen. So what you don't want to do, this button's so big that I can't even make it fucking miss, right? I don't like this shit. And again, I mentioned that earlier, but I want to mention it again. I think that sucks. It's like, if I'm doing this, I'm just gonna DP. Dude, my like, computer like crashed there. I have a 4070 and like some fucking like Ryzen 9, some bullshit, like 32 gigs of RAM. Why the fuck did my computer do that? Alright, sure. But yeah, like against air dash, I don't like 5B. It's too slow. You're gonna get counter hit at a startup. If you ever watch even like my games against Hardbread, there was games where like Aoko will double air dash at me with like jump C, and I'll try to do this, and I'll just eat shit because the startup, to react to linear air dashes like that with 5B is really hard. Like maybe Nania's isn't that good because Nania has this like arcing air dash, which kind of sucks. And it, you know, the range isn't that great. So yeah, you could probably anti-air Nania with 5B. But like, you know, linear fast air dashes, no. It's not going to work. You're just going to die. So the other thing is, like, if you do dash under, it's important to not commit right away. Or not always commit right away. Because you might think, like, okay, they're air dashing. Let me just commit to the 2C. But what if they don't do that? And it's similar to the other thing that I was showing before. Like, if you dash under a super jump, it doesn't mean they're going to land. Like, if you dash under super jump, they can still do all kinds of shit. Like, they can keep fucking going for a while. So you can end up getting baited. So if they dash under, yeah, like say you dash under and then they do this, there's a chance you eat shit if you commit to the attack. This is something I do with FCL as well. So let's look at dash under again. So it's like you dash under. Her dash is so good. And you commit. It's hard to get the spacing right. Okay. So it's like, don't commit early. So like if this was CL, I would do like a jump back B. Just to like make sure I don't die. If he may, I would probably just walk backwards again. Because don't forget the air dash option is still on the table. So when they're at this spacing here, I'm still thinking like this approach will happen. So don't geyser now because they'll air dash. You know, assume maybe I'm here where it will actually hit me. So being cognizant of your opponent's air options is really important. If you're really on the ropes, I think just fucking doing this sometimes is just like a fuck it, like holy shit kind of a thing where you could just do it if you have the meter to throw away. It's kind of like a pause button in a way, like you just pause the game. So even if they block or shield it, you can just pause the game. Like there's risk. It's not like it's not risky. Because people will empty jump at Hime. Especially Hime players that do this shit a lot. And look what happens. Look at that. Like, I hate this. Like, you're playing Hime and you're doing this. You're not utilizing the character strengths. The character strength is not the fucking... My shield counter is plus. That's not a character strength. It's just like a minor bonus. That's not your strength. Your strength is fucking Dragon Punch. Your strength is your run speed. Your strength is your walk speed. And then, of course, your giant buttons. So you can stay far constantly, force them to overcommit, and then pin their landing from safe distances. So it's like you don't have to win the interaction directly. Like, say this jumping thing happens. If you get this, if you just get this situation where you make them block on their landing, you won. Like, this idea that you must just hit them and do a full combo and win all the time, that's not necessarily what you have to do. Like, you want to play the slow game, get your good hit, and then whatever, do your mix-up shit and win. Is there any other shit for F-Hime? So think about that same shit again, like when I'm talking about anti-airing. Think about the same thing for when people air tech. Don't overcommit. Don't want to be all up in their space. Keep your fucking distance. Keep your distance. And understand that at certain ranges you have better options. From here you might, oh, you can't walk away in the fucking corner. But here you can walk away. Here you want to dash under. And certain other ranges you might have to commit. Like, say, like when you're cornered and you can't get a run under in time. You don't have to always be able to react. If you can't react, you can try to just walk back. Reacting to the first jump with the 5B is okay. Reacting to the second jump with a 5B is bad because of the air dash and air dodge. So I would say, like, react to the first jump and then keep your spacing on the second jump just in case of the air dash. Like, it's kind of long-winded and all that, but this is a complicated game. So, like, I don't like committing against the second jump. I think that's rough. I think committing against the first jump is fine just because of the angles. Like, look how hard it is to make this shit whiff on a super jump. They have to double jump very early in order to make it whiff, and at that point, you're free to recover completely and just DP. Or you never even know. You might even be able to free to recover, walk away, free to recover, dash under. There's a lot of shit you can do. So that's another thing is, like, you know, you could take a lot of this shit to training mode. A lot of players, I feel like, don't do it. They're like, oh, how do you practice training mode? Well, don't you have a lot of common situations that come up in your games? Like, don't Narnia players do this shit? Like, do you know the perfect spacing to beat Narnia's dash 2B at its tip, you know? And if you don't, what are you going to do? Like, you have to know, where am I going to whiff? Where am I going to get hit? How am I going to whiff punish it? Like, should I use 2C? Should I use 2B? For 2B, for Narnia, it looks like 2C is way better. Just because Narnia's 2B is so disjointed that the 2B is going to be hard to use. Whereas, like, a lot of other characters, 2B will just fucking kind of own them. But you got to go on a character by character basis. Like, you should be in training mode going down the list of every character that you play against regularly. So if you play against Coma, you better know how to beat, like, dash 2C, for example. You better know the ranges where it whiffs, the ranges where it'll hit you, etc. So you have to know, like, when should I commit to have to stuff it? When should I, like, at this spacing, if I walk back, is it guaranteed to whiff? Especially with these step dash characters. So, okay. Just out of curiosity, I was like, what do I have recorded? So I have a lot of similar recordings. So yeah, it's similar recording. You dash under. I'm going to dash under. I'm going to react to the air dash. I'm not reacting to the second jump because there's too many variables. So the same thing, right? I'm going to 5B. Let's make pretend the 5B whiffs. And then I can still move around and react. Now, there's going to be characters that you don't want to do that against. Like, you don't want to swing 5B against every character. Like, say, like, if you're fighting a character with a quick air special move or, like, a dive kick or something, maybe you want to commit more to the I'm going to not deal with them shit. Because you don't want your anti-air to get baited by, like, a dive kick or a special move or some kind of special stall. Like, say, like CL. Like, CL could, for example, like FCL has the stalling air key that she could do. You don't want to commit to, like, a 5B against FCL. Because if you commit to a 5B against FCL and she does 2 and 4A in the air, it might counter hit you and she might be able to land and combo you. So yeah, going back to what I was going to record. Like, you need to know this spacing. So if I'm here, I have to contest the dash. Like, I can't walk away from here. And at that point, I'm fucked. Now I got to play defense. I don't want to play defense. Here, I don't have to. I can whiff punish. And that's huge. And you got to know, because you don't want to get your toes clipped, right? You don't want your toes clipped. So this is why understanding your spacings are super important. So here, commit. And remember what we said earlier. If Coma does some shit like that, you'll still be able to cancel, or not cancel, but you'll fucking recover. Hell, look at that. He even struggles to jump over this shit. But yeah, look at that. I've tried to do it really late to show how fast it recovers. Like, that's crazy, right? So that's a big part of your footsies. And it leads with, it goes back to the anti-air game. Like, those are the angles of approach. People are going to be approaching from the ranges where they can hit you, right? Like, Koma's going to do this. Koma's going to do this. Like, these are his best approaches. Generally. And then, you know, air dash, or a super jump, excuse me. And then, of course, you could play with the angles of it. So that's why I kind of like, maybe like 5B is riskier, right? Because he has a... He could probably do some shit like this to bait 5B. And maybe even, like, beat it on whiff. Just because he could do shit like this. So that's why, like, against characters that have shit like that, committing to the 5B is a little riskier. And that's why you got to really study every matchup. I'm going to stop there. Oh, get better at spacing, and you will reap the rewards. And then buffer DP a lot. Buffer DP a lot is fucking important. Like, always have this shit on lock, and you will become a player that no one will want to play against. If you do this too much, then there's going to be, you know, this is in counter hit state. It's not very good. I would even add that to her defense. Like, I feel like her defense, you could be a little smarter about it. Do your homework. Like, there's different shit for every character. Like, you know, say like F-Len. If F-Len does a fireball reset, you can always do EX elbow. If you EX guard a lot, I know Hime has a bad jump, but but you can still jump out if you know the angle. Like, don't just pick options out of a wheel. Like when you're on defense, don't just be like, oh, now I'm gonna just guess this after I do this. You have to really plan it out, feel out the situation based on how you're defending, how the opponent runs their offense. So if you get a couple EX cards, like, how bad is this really? Like, you can actually do it. It's not a no, my character cannot do it. It's that the character does not excel at doing it, but that doesn't mean you take it off the table. You know, you could even do shit like EX block, and then fuck it, you know, or block fuzzy DP. Fuzzy DP is a thing. But of course these are all baited. You have to understand your opponent. This is kind of just an aside, but I noticed Hime players on defense will just cycle between this and this. And to an extent, like, can it work? Sure. Because if you get a successful shield counter and you get a good knockdown, you can run your mix-up. And if you're really good at running the Hime flight mix-up, you could just win the game. Like, you can just win the game. And, you know, the opposite side of the argument is if you're wrong, you get a counter hit, and you lose half your life. So that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you, I wouldn't say never shield. Like, there's a lot of things that are good to shield and maybe better to shield than using like an EX elbow or something. Like, some things are better to shield if you get a guaranteed punish. Like, if it's like a slow, deliberate move and you know that when you shield it, they can't like jump cancel it or recover and block or whatever the fuck, it's probably better to shield and get the shield counter. But yeah, this is a random aside on defense. But yeah, the last thing that's kind of funny that I was thinking about, and again, I'm telling the weaknesses of 5B. Like, I said how I like it. Like, say, like with Nania. Nania can't dive kick and shit like that. Well, F Nania totally fucking can. But I was mainly referring to Crescent, right? So, like, characters without crazy air stalls and shit. Like, the first jump, the super jump, it's fine to just swing this shit. It kind of is like F-Hime's jump A is the funny point about it. Because other characters might see something and be able to react with the jump A. Whereas Hime, you're not really going to do that much. Maybe if you're... there are times with Hime where I would do some wild shit. Like, on like up back B on some crazy shit. Not that I would advise it, really. This example's bad. I'll record it differently. It's really hard to get the dummy to do it. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Yeah, I want that. Alright, dash under later, yeah. Let's restart. Get a nice center stage. So like here, deep, like Dragon Punch is nice, right? That's what I would do if I was playing FCL. Because I don't like to commit early. Like, you don't want to commit early and get fucking splatted on the face. We talked about that before. So like with Hime, in that situation, I'll probably just DP. Like, you don't want to do stuff like that. You gotta be careful on your spacing. You don't want that to happen, right? A lot of times when the run under, people will do air dash back at you. Just keep going, you know? I want to get this center position. There you go. That's like unstoppable, right? It's like a weird angle like that, probably DP. But here, I would just keep running and build that optimal spacing, like 2C, Geyser, 2C and Geyser spacing. Always looking for 2C Geyser spacing. Notice how, like, I'm still looking for that. Like, this is a different situation, but I'm still looking for it. They retreat, I don't mind. Like, when people are retreat, they're giving up space, so you can just keep, you can close in on them. Look how fucked up that situation was for a coma. So maintaining that spacing at all times and understanding your opponent's air options will be key for victory.